Cheetah FlightPad is the only portable GPS that significantly improves your safety margins during an IFR approach for the following 3 reasons. The standard way of placing your aircraft on the approach plate does nothing to address the actual reason for IFR approach accidents. In fact, it can compound the problems for the following reasons. Reason 1. Poor situational awareness. Placing your aircraft on the approach plate means it is only useful when you are flying north up. This means that the approaches are not being displayed from your perspective most of the time. Normally you will be flying sideways, backwards, upside down on the screen towards your approach. 1 o'clock on the display screen could be 6 o'clock out the window 1 minute, and then after the next turn be either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock. More recently, some companies have tried to rotate their approach charts track up, but this solves one problem by creating a bigger one, for all the information on the chart is then often sideways or upside down, making it unusable. As you can see in this graph, your workload starts off very low before you fly. Once you get in the plane and take off, and particularly during the climb part, you can see a big spike. Then after that, all things being equal, during cruise, it's more or less stable. But then again, it jumps up when you're doing an approach in actual IFR conditions. By the same token, your alertness or ability to handle different situations gets reduced due to fatigue, and that's a pretty steady downward line. Obviously, the longer the flight goes, the worse it is. And so it should be no surprise that at the very end, where the two intersect, is where a high percentage of IFR-related accidents take place. Because your approach is not being displayed the way it really looks out the window, it actually adds to your workload instead of reducing it like it should be. In an actual approach, this kludgy way of displaying your position compounds the problem and makes it easier to get turned around, especially when the workload is high and you are at the most fatigued point of the flight, which is a common scenario during approach accidents in IFR weather. The Cheetah FlightPad displays your approach track up as it really looks in reality. 1 o'clock on the display is always the same as 1 o'clock out the window. There's no conversion or interpretation necessary. You can't make a heading mistake without it being immediately obvious. Because your approach is not being displayed the way it really looks out the window, it actually adds to your workload instead of reducing it like it should be. In an actual approach, this kludgy way of displaying your position compounds the problem and makes it easier to get turned around or make a mistake. By its very definition, every single IFR approach accident takes place because the pilot unintentionally busted at an altitude and got too low. Even the best pilots can make mistakes. Displaying your position on an approach plate will do nothing to alert you of this. Why? Well, because a chart is literally a picture, and from the standpoint of the computer, there is no underlying data such as heading, altitude, or nav aid information that it can use to display it on the main screen to use the critical information more intelligently. This is why, if you deviate from an altitude, it will not alert you or raise a red flag to prevent an accident. Overlaying your approach on a chart does nothing to address the root cause of all IFR approach accidents. Reason 3. Marginal accuracy and visual clutter. Because an approach chart is a drawing representing typically 10 or more miles on a relatively small piece of paper, it does not have anything close to the accuracy of your WAAS GPS. Because the Cheetah Flight Pad does not have this limitation and uses the segments of the approach based on their actual GPS positions, you are flying the approach within a few feet. That's why when you fly an approach with a Cheetah Flight Pad, it doesn't line you up with the runway. It lines you up with the center line of the runway. Because the Cheetah Flight Pad can more intelligently use the approach information, you don't have to deal with all the clutter of a chart and customize what you view on the screen. You also obviously can quickly pull up a chart as a reference for the frequencies, and all charts have pinch and zoom capability. You can see more of the advantages and capabilities of the Cheetah Flight Pad with the live video link on this page, or call 800-493-4071.